Lindsay. How are you?
Awesome. Michelle, how's everything going in your world?
Everything is good. Everything is good. Recently, a couple months back, we had the midterm elections in the U.S. and there were a lot of really close races, like some that were too close to call at first, right?
Yeah, I was actually traveling in Argentina when this was happening, for better or for worse. I guess maybe that was better to be out of the country. But I remember checking the news and thinking, oh, looks like this person lost, but they actually won. And I was kind of
Yeah.
bummed. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was very close, neck and neck,
Yeah,
right?
neck and neck. You know what? I feel like that, like when you hear it too close to call, isn't that what you always hear on the news on election night? Like they go through,
Always.
like it's like the start of the night, and it's like I remember I saw, I think it was on NBC, and it was like, and this race is too close to call, and this race is too close to call, and it's like, with 5% of the votes
Oh,
in, and
you
you're
know,
like, all right, what are we even doing
Oh,
here?
they go for it. They line up all the advertisers that night, or they know people are sitting down to watch. It's always the
Yeah.
same kind of announcers. It's that young guy from very strong, I think, Brooklyn accent. You know that guy with the dark hair, and he's like sounds very Brooklyn. It's just so funny. And every year he's right there reporting for us. He's probably like in his 30s. I don't know his name. Anyways,
On which channel?
I think it's CNN.
Oh, and really in his 30s? I
I
can't
don't
think
know.
of who.
Anyways,
Oh,
it's always the same people, like because
yeah,
you
yeah,
have certain people
yeah.
that have that career that just
Oh,
analyze
yeah.
election results. There's like three of them on
Oh,
on
yeah,
all the
yeah,
channels.
yeah. Well, there's John King. He's on CNN. Guy with the
Okay.
gray hair.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, he's one of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's Harry Enton. Maybe you're talking about Harry Enton.
I think it might be Harry.
I think
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
it's Harry.
So anyway, yeah, but guys, a lot of times in the U.S., at least for sure in the past several years, a lot of races have been too close to call. It's not often just like a big, oh, one person, it was so easy to tell that, but some are predictable, but sometimes there's really, we don't know.
I know, I know. And speaking of races and competitions, I'm really impressed to see the U.S. I think they won their
Yes.
game against in the World Cup. Who did they beat? I'm not really a soccer fan, but I know it's a big
I'm not
deal that
either.
they made it
Was
to
it
where they're
Iran?
at. I don't, maybe. Yeah, that sounds right. I think that's what it was. They're doing well this year. Pretty impressive.
I have to confess, I'm also not watching.
No, not watching
I,
it. Yeah. We've never really been a
I'm not
big
even,
soccer country compared to other
yeah,
countries in the world.
right. I'm really not even sure if that answer was correct. That's shameful on me.
I think you're right. I think you're right. So close soccer matches, close political races. This
Right.
is what we're getting into today, Michelle.
Yeah. So, guys, we're going to talk about some vocabulary today, some expressions that you can use when races are really close. And so it's funny that we call a race like races. It's not always just like an actual race, like running a race, like an
Yeah, that
actual
is weird.
race, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Sometimes
Yeah.
we use race to talk about like an election too.
Right. That's kind of strange that we do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's talk about connection here. When and where why is this a good connection skill for our listeners, would you say?
Oh my gosh. Well, I actually remember you were talking about being out of the country. I was out of the country when Obama won his first term.
Really? You were in
Yeah,
London?
I was in London. That's right. And I
Oh.
was in a bar, like at an election watch party
Okay.
with some of my roommates and then a lot of people I didn't know. And this is, and I also remember where I was when Trump won.
Right.
I was,
Yeah.
and it is like when you're especially watching something, maybe at a bar or anywhere, you're watching with like a lot of people, you want to have that connection.
Yes.
Like this is the way to kind of like start mingling with people, start talking. When you're out at an event, sometimes they have watch parties for sport games, elections, whatever it is.
100%. And I think relationships are formed over sometimes intense experiences.
Yeah.
And nothing's more intense than if you really believe in a political candidate, or especially World Cup, I guess, because the whole world loves soccer, or other sport matches. You can form intense bonds over these words,
Yes.
over
Oh my
having something to
gosh.
say in these moments, guys. Yeah.
Of course. So let's go over some of these expressions today. So the first one is this too close to call. So what do we mean by that? Too close. What does it mean by call
Call.
here?
Right. So
Yeah,
when
what
we
is
say
that?
call, we mean decide or determine or announce
Yes.
a winner. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, you can't say who won yet. It's before the results are in, before the match is over, right? It's often used with elections, as we said. So for example, Pennsylvania is too close to call, but we should have more votes coming in soon.
Yeah. And in US elections, there are always certain states that are too close to call. It's always predictable. It's like Arizona, Pennsylvania, Florida sometimes.
Florida.
These purple states. And Colorado is actually technically a purple state too, but it's leaning more blue now. So yeah. So very interesting. Yeah. All right.
I just watched your governor on a TV show.
Oh, Governor Polis. People love him. They love him.
Yeah. He seems great. They were saying he could end up running for president.
I think he should, because what I like about him, we won't get too much into politics here, but what I like about him is that he used to be a businessman. He was an entrepreneur. He founded, I think, ProFlowers or flowers.com or something like that.
I didn't realize that.
I know. So he's business minded, which I think is important. People that know the economy, understand small business, but he's also tolerant socially. Like
right. Because he said about Trump at first, it sounded like you were describing Trump.
Oh God, no.
The tolerant socially part was the.
But Trump just inherited a bunch of money and reinvested it into hotel. I mean, no, that's not business skill. It's another kind of business, right? I'm talking about small business, like
absolutely
the grind.
The small business is huge. Yes, exactly. So good. So the next thing you can say is neck and neck, right?
Yes.
Is to say something is very close. So and it always sounds like neck in neck, but I think it's actually neck and neck. But whatever it is, it's just neck and neck.
Yeah, neck and neck, neck and neck. The runners were neck and neck until one tripped over a tree branch. Ooh, bad.
Oh. Yeah. Or they are both such talented singers. I think it's going to be neck and neck.
Yes, good stuff. We just did the turkey trot with my family here in Denver right before Thanksgiving dinner, and that was fun. We were all kind of neck and neck until the end, and then we just sprint and see who wins, you know?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. What else, Michelle? What's the next expression?
Okay, so the next one we want to talk about is buy a something. So we have buy a hair and buy a nose.
Oh, buy a nose. I don't know that one. That's new for me.
It's the same thing as buy a hair.
Okay.
I've heard it before, but I feel like I hear buy a hair more frequently. But think about it. Like, so Lindsay, what is buy a hair?
Buy a hair. Just imagine how thick how thin one hair is. That's the margin, right? That's the margin. That's the difference between this person and this person.
Right. So what's an example?
Okay. In the Kentucky Derby, the winner really won by a hair. Yeah.
Okay. So that means it was just you think of the Kentucky Derby as a horse race, and you think of like literally, like guys are on video, you can see, by a hair. It's just like by a teensy
hair.
bit, a tiny hair. It was so close.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or the NASCAR race was so close, but he won by a nose. I know some people think he didn't win at all.
Yeah, and if you're looking for a truly cultural experience, go to the Kentucky Derby, right? Because it's so Tennessee. It's in Kentucky, right? Yeah, obviously it's in Kentucky. Oh my God, what am I thinking? It's so southern. They wear these big hats. Like the drinks. Is it mint julep that they drink?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a very clear tradition. There's a lot of traditions in the South, and Kentucky Derby is filled with traditions. So if you have a chance to go, I would go if I had a chance to go for sure.
Yeah, an experience for sure.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, what else, Michelle?
So the next one is down to the wire.
Yes.
So this one can be used in a couple different ways, but we're just going to focus on one. So for example, the race is really down to the wire. We just have to see what happens. So how can you explain that one?
Yeah. So I would say it's getting to the end, right? That's kind of what I think of. Yeah. And it's probably implying that it's close as well.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Both.
Exactly. Down to the wire.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do one more, which is tight or close.
All right. That's the most straightforward one. Mm-hmm.
That's the most straightforward one. So that's how to describe a competition that is, we don't know what's going to happen. So you could say it's going to be tight, but Vicky should pull it out in the end.
Good. Or it's such a tight race, but it looks like Paul will be the winner. So guys, that would be the one to start with. If you want to keep it simple and start commenting on these things. Yeah, that's easy.
Race.
And then
you could just say, it's a real tight race, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And then we can add in the idioms after that. Right, Michelle?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Michelle, do we have any quick conversation we want to do here about this?
Yeah, we do.
Hop in
Well,
here.
I want to hear from you. Are you competitive?
I'm actually not the most competitive person. I know people who are way more competitive. What about you?
Same, especially in things like sports and things like that, because this is not my strong point. I am not athletic. I will never win a running race. And like those things I'm okay with. With like theater and singing, I think I used to be a little bit more competitive, and now I'm just a little bit more relaxed. But with sports, I mean, I'm the type of person, if it's fun, I want to do it, right? Like with bowling, I am the world's worst bowler. I mean, you've never seen anything like it. But guess what? I actually love to go bowling.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I don't have to be good at something to find ways to enjoy it.
Interesting. That's
I
good.
enjoy the experience and kind of laugh at myself and whatever.
Being there. Yeah. That's a good thing, Michelle.
Yeah.
I like that.
But I guess in some ways I could be competitive, where it really counts to me. It depends how important it is.
I think in the sports or the events that we're better at, we tend to obviously be more competitive because we want to play at a higher level and we want to test out our skills and see how good we actually are. You know? Yeah.
I mean, do you think that the world, like society or culture, is more competitive lately or less? Or do you think we can really say?
Is it more competitive? So I guess it would have to depend on the sector. Like, are we talking about business? Are we talking about sports? I don't know if I can really answer that. It depends on where we're, What do you think?
Yeah. I think, in some ways, yes. In some ways, no. Like, I do think the global health crisis kind of maybe changed some things, maybe making some things less competitive, right? Like, I mean, in some ways, like the work environment of, some people started like leaving the workforce or wanting to work less, or we talked about that recently. So in some ways, I think people maybe found different priorities.
Right. And we've talked about that on the show recently when we talked about the quiet quitting thing and approaching that from different angles, for sure. Love that. Interesting.
Yeah. So in that sense, a little bit less, but I'm sure there's many other ways in which we're more competitive. I think in politics, we're probably even more so. Like, it's getting more competitive and not in a healthy way.
Not in a healthy way. I think politics has become more like identity politics, where in the 70s or the 80s, people could probably talk about these issues and leave their identity behind and just actually debate the issue itself. But now it's like we all get it, the issues intertwined with who we are, and there's just no coming to a consensus there in that case. Yeah. Exactly. So I would say that's become more competitive for sure.
Right. So interesting how these things evolve over time.
Yeah.
So should we do a role play?
Yes, let's do it. So here we are watching a race, hopefully the Kentucky Derby. But
okay, sure.
I don't know. Yeah, let's just say it is.
Let's say it's the Kentucky Derby. Okay,
all right.
So here we are.
Oh my gosh. Who do you think won?
Oh, well, it's still too close to call. I mean, we have a minute left, actually.
Oh, right. Wow, this is a tight race.
Yeah, it's really neck and neck. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
Yeah, we're down to the wire.
Oh my gosh.
Stacy won. Wow, that was really by a hair. So Stacy must be our jockey.
Or the horse.
Or the horse. The horse's name could be Stacy, I guess.
I guess I wasn't writing this with the
That's okay.
Kentucky Derby in mind, but guys, you get the point. Let's see. So I said it's too close to call, right? So we don't know.
Yeah, it's too great commentary, right? Great commentary. And then we say, oh, right, wow, this is a tight race.
Right.
Tight race.
Some of the basic ones you can just say, it's a close race, it's a tight race. Go start with those if you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, good.
And then I said, it's really neck and neck. Right?
Yes, I can't believe it. And then I said, yeah, we're down to the wire. Right?
And then, you said that was really by a hair. So somebody won, but it was so close, it was almost impossible to tell.
I'm thinking this could be really useful because a lot of times when you get to the higher levels of business, like our listeners are getting to, you might be invited by your boss or by your clients. You might invite your clients to come and use your company seats at a basketball game or at a baseball game. Often large companies will buy a box, right? And then they will have that for their clients or suppliers, whatever. And you need to have conversations. And let's imagine maybe you don't actually care about what's happening. You still need to say something, and you can this. You can get away with not having insight on the team or the sport by saying things like this. Do you even know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I do know what you mean. Yeah, just throw some things out there. Even if you're not quite sure or you don't really care, just say it. Just build those connections. It doesn't matter.
Right. Someone else might be saying, oh, this player, that player, oh, he should have missed that layup. He made 100 of those last season. You can't say that because you don't know the sport, but you can say these things, this commentary around how close it is.
These are universal things that you can talk about, right? So don't feel like you can't comment if you don't know all the details.
Yes, I love it. I like the idea of, where does sports intersect with business and how can we get in there? And, most of the time you're not necessarily watching the game. You're actually just talking to the people around you, your colleagues, your clients. But it matters in these moments. What do you say?
Good.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think so. Yeah, good stuff, Lindsay. Well, wow, this was really fun. So, guys, this is useful for talking to people about competitions. It's good for also predicting what you think might happen. So try them out and you will,
Yeah. And if you are into it, right, like a presidential race, remember that, like I said before, we said the relationships get formed in those intense moments. So it could be a moment to really build a bond with someone and make it closer, that connection.
That's a really important point, Lindsay. All right. I guess we'll leave it there. Thanks,
guys,
for listening.
Take care, Michelle. Bye.
Bye.